very honest, the number of no's that I've heard in the last 4 years, if I had probably, a British dollar, an American dollar for it, I would have been the richest person in this world. So to answer this question, I'll be very frank. I'll be very honest. I did not know much back then. Back in class 11th and 12th standard, my brother had. I have an elder brother who's a mechanical engineer himself. So I guess I went with the flow. Uh, I wanted to probably explore the commerce side of the world as well. But since my brother had already pursued his engineering, I had someone who could guide me through the process. So I thought that I should take this path. Again, being very honest here, I had no specific interest in engineering. Having said that, the journey turned out to be a little different when I probably started pursuing it. So that's pretty much it, I guess. So I pursued my engineering from Bharati Vidyapeeth's College of Engineering, BVCOE. That's based in Paschim Vihar in Delhi. The college that I pursued my engineering from comes under Guru Gobind Singh GGS IP University, basically, and it's located in Paschim Vihar. And from there, I pursued computer science engineering. So we picked up a couple of projects, I guess, in the third and fourth year. Mostly the industry projects are done in the third and fourth year of engineering. I'm not very sure how it happens in other colleges. So I remember two of them. One was related to voice recognition web browser. So this is something that me and my friend had built, a web browser which could take up voice commands, like probably you have Alexa right now at your homes, right? But at that time, probably in 2010 or 11, this technology, I won't say it did not exist, but it was not like there in the market. We had built a demo product to showcase to our, the industry leaders that we were showcasing it to. So voice recognition web browser was one thing, and the second project I remember we were doing in our final year was with virtual reality. So this is also being used right now very much when it comes to probably practical usage. So I remember we had built up. Do you know about the very famous game paper toss? You probably take up a garbage bag and a garbage bin and start throwing papers in it, start tossing papers in it, and the direction of the wind would probably act as an obstacle when you're trying to throw those paper balls. So this is something that we had built using virtual reality. You did not need an actual dustbin or an actual paper. Everything was being done virtually. So this is one game that we had built very successfully in the last year. Having said that, when I moved to the industry, I started working. Then I realized how important these projects were, and it's actually from that aspect that you've got to see things. Both these projects actually helped me a lot in understanding the processes in my first job as well, when it comes to industry exposure. So this is something that I would say I was not very thrilled at in the beginning, the industrial projects that we were doing. But when I came into the corporate sector, when I probably started working there, it was then when I realized how important these projects are from an exposure standpoint. You get to learn a lot, you interact with your, external project stakeholders, you understand team building, you understand external research, you understand how to build something from scratch, right? So all these things in some way or the other are used in the corporate world as well. It wasn't actually a client facing job. It was more of a mix and match, a combination of many things stitched together. Coding was one of them. So we used to code a lot in C++. And then interaction with business clients, interaction with business analysts was another aspect which was very important, because the coding that we were doing, the software we were building was in-house. And in order to understand the stakeholders' mindset using that software, we interacted with the business analyst a lot. So these business analysts at that time were our clients, right? Now it's completely different. Now it's completely client-facing role, but in a way, that role of an IT analyst probably gave the structure or framework or shaped the pathway towards this role that I'm in right now. Sounds of Silence works towards the empowerment of hearing and speech impaired kids. All right. Okay. So what we had noticed was that these kind of kids are present across the country. not just across the country, across the globe as well. And having said that, the problem that these guys were facing was that the kind of menial jobs they were doing were mostly related to stitching or pot making, or probably joining their dad's business or mom's business or whatever. So we were coming from probably somewhere where we were looking towards these guys as someone who could do these industrial jobs as well, a shift from blue collar to white collar jobs. So that's how the whole idea came in. And for that we had to remove the obstacle of the barrier of sign language, because what we saw was these guys were totally dependent on sign language. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for them to communicate with the external world, they were very fond of using sign language, but the external world wasn't. So this is one gap that we tried to bridge using mobile phones. So it was a very simple idea. We were only trying to think inside the box how a very small and simple thing like a mobile phone can be used. The SMS technology or probably WhatsApp can be used to interact with the hearing and speech impaired. So this gap was probably reduced when it came to communication between the external world and the hearing impaired. So this is something that we were working upon consistently, as well as we were reaching out to probably small businesses, small companies who wanted to outsource their work to these kids. So again, you can look at it from two lenses. One lens is it's absolutely different. All right, an NGO probably does not have those kind of deadlines or those kind of upper management sitting at your head. There are no processes, there are no frameworks. Everything, I remember everything had to be done from scratch. When I started, I had a 15,000 rupee laptop and one very small room in which I had to assemble stuff, probably build an office from scratch. And we did not have any funding back then as well. So it took an entire year to probably set up these structures, set up these processes, these frameworks, which could, make way for things in the future. But looking at it from another lens, the second lens, I won't say it's very different, because the kind of things that I did in Sounds of Silence, again, I use those thought processes, I use those similar structures to probably help my business in Zycus as well. So it was a walk-in interview, and I remember I was doing the Sounds of Silence activity coming back from Dwarka, and I had received an email that the walk-in interview starts at 4 p.m. I wasn't even very ready. Luckily, I was in my formals, so I just walked in the walk-in interview, and that's how it started. Right. The first round was a general aptitude test, which consisted of 10 odd questions, multiple choice questions. It was purely aptitude based, so that I was able to crack really easily. The next round was with the HR. It was a 5-minute interaction where the HR was basically looking at how good the communication skills of the candidate is, in this case, me. So I think I cracked that round as well. The next round was an email communication round. Now, since this was a job profile for business development, which ties very closely into sales, business development and lead generation uses email as a very important communication mode, right? So they had given us a particular scenario, a case study, in which we had to write an email to probably a prospect or a company leader of, let's say, a company like Nestle, in order to sell him something, a new product. And these are the kind of emails which we also write on a day-to-day basis in our days of prospecting today. So this is something that I was able to relate to when it probably came to the real job. After this round, there was a one-on-one round with the director of business development, who's now my reporting manager and my boss as well. And after that, one final round was with the VP of sales, which was held online through WebEx. So I was hired as a senior executive for business development. So business development generally varies from company to company. I'm working in a product-based company. Zycus is a product-based, SaaS-based company. So in this, the entire sales cycle is broken into two pieces. The first piece of the puzzle is through business development. Second piece of the puzzle is through actual sales. So the business development representatives do not have to close deals per se, but they are the ones who find these opportunities which can be passed to the sales reps inside the sales funnel, and it's the job of the sales rep to probably close those deals. So in order for us to do our job successfully, it's a combination of many skills. One is selling the product, second is selling the company, and third is identifying those pain points from the prospect through which we can leverage and understand how our solutions fit in their ecosystems. First is understanding the industry that you're working. When it comes to the kind of tools that we use at Zycus for lead generation and business development, there are plenty. One is obviously a CRM software. I'm not probably allowed to say the name of the CRM that we are using. Having said that, a CRM is the most important thing for a business development professional, because it's the core database that we use to track all our prospects, right? All the activities that they are doing, everything that we are probably having our conversations with, we log them in the CRM. All those phone numbers, email IDs, general lead generation, prospecting day-to-day basis. It's very important to maintain each and every data set inside a CRM. Then it comes to probably tools like LinkedIn Sales Navigator or something like Lucia, basically database building tools. Some of these tools help us get the right email IDs, the right phone numbers, the right mobile numbers, the right contacts. It's also important to understand all the contacts, all the people that you need to target, which we call as prospects. To be very honest, the number of no's that I've heard in the last 4 years, I had probably a British dollar, an American dollar for it, I would have been the richest person in this world. Facing rejection, as you rightly pointed out, is something that is not very easy in the very beginning. And it's not very easy for people who haven't faced rejection in their lives. Right? If someone is coming from a background where they haven't faced a lot of failures, where they haven't heard a lot of no's, let's say from their school teachers or from their parents or from their professors in college or even from their friends, right? So in this kind of a job role, when it probably comes to something like cold calling, right, there would be people who won't be willing to listen to you for even 5 seconds. This happens on a daily basis. Even for 5 seconds, they do not have that time, those prospects. But at the same time, if I'm making, let's say, 20 cold calls, I will find 5 such prospects. But I will also find that one very interesting prospect who would be very interested in talking to me, have a very lengthy, good, positive conversation. And it's all about patience. It's all about that mindset as well that you need to have, that facing rejection does not necessarily mean that I would, jump into the pool of negativity and demotivation, right? It's very important to keep yourself motivated enough to face these kind of, you can call them rejections, of course, but I would not prefer to use that word, because if someone is not willing to talk to me when something is probably not placed on the calendar, it's not necessarily a rejection for me. One thing that I would tell my past self to not do is not give up so easily. So I remember I used to be the kind of person in school, especially, who used to give up very easily. I used to be someone who did not like going to school very much. I used to be someone who did not, try to actively pursue things or participate in things, because I was just not there. I did not have the right most explanation to this. I was not just there. Having said that, if I can go right back to my childhood, I would want to tell probably that 5-year-old Anuj that it's very important to take hold of things, to do things, and to not give up so easily. At least fail once and then give up.